So we know that mental health has been a hot topic recently, especially since the pandemic, and it's been so good to see so many people talking more openly about mental health. However, I still think we've got a long way to go, and I know personally, having suffered with my anxiety, that it's really hard to talk about your mental health. And one thing that really helped me was knowing I wasn't alone, knowing that actually 1 in 4 people suffer with their mental health every single year, and our mental health isn't linear. Mental ill health also doesn't discriminate, so it could literally be your boss or your colleague who's also suffering. So think about who you might talk to. Is there a manager that's supportive? Is there somebody that was likely to listen to you and put those adjustments in place? Also, do you have mental health first aiders? Think, is there somebody in the workplace who's trained to deal with these types of conversations who you would feel comfortable sharing that information with? Because maybe they can help you prep, but also they might be able to help you during the meeting and come with you and take notes. So where your employer doesn't listen, doesn't support, and fails to make any adjustments for you, try to speak to another manager or speak to HR first in an informal basis to try and get what you need in place. It can be really difficult when you've got a mental health problem because having to go through a formal process might actually make you worse. So try that informal approach first. If it doesn't work though, you have to then raise a grievance. What you need to be looking at is what the company policy says, who you should raise that to. It's usually in writing, and also what the timeframes are for that investigation. So you can usually find that in your policies and procedures in your staff handbook. But if you don't have that, you can just go on the ACAS website and follow the step-by-step guide that's available there, which is free. If you don't like the outcome of the grievance, you can appeal that. What that means is you're doing another process where you're basically saying why you don't agree with the findings and on what basis. And from there, if you still don't agree, the next stage would be external. So you would then have to go to ACAS to start what we call early conciliation. Most people don't realise that mental ill health, where it's a long-term condition, is likely to satisfy the definition of disability. You don't need a formal diagnosis, you don't need loads of evidence. What you need to show is the impact that your condition has on your ability to do your daily activities. So focus on not just how you do your job when looking at whether you meet the definition. You look at everything from whether you get up in the morning, the impact on sleep, socialising, travelling, all of that is relevant when looking at the definition of disability. And also think about how long it's lasted. So has it been more than 12 months, or is it likely to last more than 12 months? If it hasn't, is it something that's likely to reoccur? More than likely, individuals in that scenario will meet the definition, and what that means is employers have a legal obligation to support those individuals by making what we call reasonable adjustments. So when making adjustments, the real focus is on what's reasonable. What's reasonable will depend on your job, the impact of your condition on your ability to do that job, but also the size and administrative resources of that individual employer. So, what works in one organisation for one mental health condition won't work in another. And some examples of what might be reasonable might be changing hours, working from home, also thinking about when people take breaks or changing the environment in some way. What's unreasonable would be if you're asked to work from home but you work on a checkout, because you can't do that job from home. Equally, if you're a driver, you wouldn't be able to do that job from home. So think about how you can adjust the role rather than simply have a completely new role. It could be possible to transfer you to another role, but there's no obligation on employers to do that. So really think about, on a case-by-case basis, what would help you in your job, and ask your employer for that as a reasonable adjustment.